The Gambler by Fyodor DOSTOEVSKY. Retold by Catherine Sklerova. Chapter 6. Because on the veranda of the hotel there was sitting the grandmother. Yes, it was her, rich, well-dressed, imposing, 75 years of age, a famous Madame of Moscow, Antonida Vassilievna Tarasevich. It was she to whom so many telegrams had been sent in vain, who had been dying, yet not dying, though unable to walk. She had arrived in armchair. She was aggressive, self-satisfied, imperious, and loud as ever. In fact, she looked exactly the same as when I had seen her at my apartment at the general's mansion. I stood still with astonishment. She watched me 100 steps away. Even while she was being carried along in her chair, she had recognized me and called me by my name. This is the woman whom they had hoped to see in her grave after making her will. I thought to myself, yet she can recognize me all. Good heavens, what is going to become of us now? What will happen to the general? She will destroy all his hopes. Why are you standing there? She cried to me. Your eyes are almost falling out of your head. Cannot you come to me and greet me? Or do you not recognize me? Just think, Alexis Ivanovich doesn't recognize me. They have buried me already. Yes, I have heard the whole story, though I'm alive as you may see. Pardon me, Antonida Vassilievna, I said kindly. I have no reason to wish you ill. I'm just astonished to see you here. You have come so unexpectedly. You don't need to be astonished. I just got into my chair and came. The place seems comfortable. I like it very much. Is the general here at present? Is Polina here too? Yes, all of them must be here, I replied. Have you been out for a walk? Yes. Well, it is quite nice here. The place seems comfortable. I like it very much. All the trees are out now. Yes, this place is nice. Do you like being here? I do, Antonida Vassilievna. She smiled at me and turned to her servant. Her servant was a tall, middle-aged man called Fatafich. She ordered him to go and reserve the best suite for her. He took her luggage and carried it upstairs. She turned to me again and looked at my companion. Who is this with you? She asked me. Mr. Astley, I answered. He's an Englishman and my good friend. He is an acquaintance of the general. Oh, an Englishman. Now take me upstairs and carry me to my room, she said, turning to her other servants. She was lifted up in her chair by the servants and carried upstairs. She asked me to follow her. I nodded in agreement. Our progress was quite fast. Everyone whom we meet stopped to look at us attentively. It happened that this hotel was very popular among rich and aristocratic people. Some ladies and gentlemen went downstairs to ask the landlord who the newcomer was. To all such questions he returned the same answer. The old lady was a rich and influential Russian. Every person whom the grandmother met she checked out very carefully. She was a strong woman, though she could not leave her chair. Her back was always straight in her seat. She looked about in an impressive way. Though she had reached her 75th year, her face was still fresh. She was dressed in a black silk dress with a white mob cap. Mr. Astley was surprised to see the grandmother too. She is a curious old woman, he said to me. He was still walking by my side. Meanwhile, I was thinking that probably the old lady knew all about the telegrams, and even about the Frenchman, though little or nothing about Mademoiselle Blanche. I mentioned my thoughts to Mr. Astley. He only nodded in agreement. Presently, he went away on business. I went to the parlor thoughtfully. I was thinking of the shock which was about to come to the general and his friends. I could scarcely imagine their surprise and despair. I entered the parlor without saying anything to the party. The party was in a joyful mood. Presently the grandmother was conveyed into the parlor without a knock. The general was present, and also Polina, the children, the Greers, and Mademoiselle Blanche. The servant set the grandmother down in front of the general. I will never forget that scene. When the grandmother appeared in the room, the general stopped speaking right in the middle of the sentence. His jaw dropped in surprise. He looked hard at his mother. His face turned as white as sheet. The grandmother looked at him silently in return, though with a look of triumph and challenge in her eyes. There was a deep silence for 15 seconds. They all looked at her with great astonishment. Only Polina didn't look surprised. Truly, the grandmother's sudden arrival was a catastrophe for everyone. As for me, I watched the scene calmly. Well, here I am, instead of a telegram, said the grandmother at last. What? You were not expecting to see me? Why? I feel well enough to come here by myself. Oh, my dear mother, said the general in confusion. Such a big surprise, but how did I what? Interrupted the grandmother. I just got onto the train and came here, but you thought that I had died and left my property to all of you. Oh, I know all about the telegrams which you have sent me. Well, picked up my things and came here. Who are this young gentleman and that beautiful lady? Omukirs the Griers. I am so glad to see you here in such good health, said the Griers. And who is that? Asked the grandmother, pointing at Mademoiselle Blanche. Mademoiselle Blanche de Comminges. I answered, for Mademoiselle Blanche seemed unable to say a word. How she sticks out her eyes at me, said the grandmother. Can she speak Russian? I explained to the old lady that Mademoiselle Blanche had never visited Russia. Bonjour, then, said the old lady to Mademoiselle Blanche. Bonjour, madame, replied Mademoiselle Blanche. Mademoiselle Blanche tried to express both in her face and figure her extreme surprise at the old woman's behavior. The old lady turned to General. Anyway, I will stay here in a neighboring suite. Are you glad to hear that? The General recovered his senses to a certain extent. My dear mother, I am sincerely happy to see you here, replied the General as kindly as he could. We all have been so upset by the news of your bad health. We had received such hopeless telegrams about you. Then suddenly you came here. How did you decide to come here? Your arrival is so unexpected to us that our surprise is reasonable. However, I'm glad to see you, and I promise to make your stay here as pleasant as possible. Enough, cried the grandmother. All of this is meaningless talk. You're talking nonsense. How did I decide to come here, you ask? Well, it was done quite simply. Why is everyone so surprised at my decision to come here? How do you do, Polina? I'm fine, grandmother, and how are you? Replied Polina. Well, you will hear how it all happened, answered the grandmother. I laid in my bed for a long time until at last I sent the doctors away. I sent for a famous apothecary who had cured an old woman of a disease similar to my own. Well, he helped me a great deal. On the third day I was able to leave my bed. He told me then to go abroad and take a course of hot waters. So I got things ready and set out here by train with my servants. You have a nice suite here, my dear son, but where did you find the money for it? I thought you had mortgaged everything. Oh, I know all about it. I do not need any control of my fiancés, dear mother. Moreover, began the General. Will you ever drop that roulette? Are you going to whistle all your property away? Asked the grandmother. These questions made such a great impression on the General that he could not talk for a moment. Roulette? Did I play roulette, my dear mother? Recollect what you are saying. You must be still unwell. Nonsense, cried the grandmother. The truth is that you cannot drop that roulette. Today I want to go and see for myself what roulette is like. Alexis Ivanovich, show me that roulette today. I must see everything. I nodded silently. Alexis Ivanovich, make me a list of excursions. What is here to be seen? There's a ruined castle and the Schlangenberg, I replied. You can get the most beautiful view from the Schlangenberg mountain. Can my chair be carried up to the mountain? We can find beers for this purpose, I answered. At that moment, the nursemaid approached the old lady and asked her whether she wanted to see the General's children. Not now, I'm tired, said the grandmother. Then the old lady looked at Polina. You're a nice girl, Polina, she said to Polina. You have some character about you. You look very good. I think many men are in love with you. Why do you not get married? Thank you for such sincere words, grandmother. I do not want to marry at present, I answered Polina. I want to look around a little, continued the old lady. Alexis Ivanovich, will you escort me and show me the town? With great pleasure, grandmother, I said. Then she called for her servants, and they carried her downstairs with great care. The whole party looked after her silently. I followed the grandmother downstairs. Nobody left the parlor except myself.